When a man hurts you, the first instinct is often to prove that you matter. You want him to see your tears, feel your pain, recognize your worth. But what if I told you that reaction gives him the exact power he didn't earn? Pause here. The one who hurt you may never apologize. He may never understand the depth of the damage, and he may not care. But that doesn't matter. What matters is that you understand, that your nervous system understands how to turn pain into presence. The most dangerous woman is not the one who yells. It's the one who breathes through the chaos. It's the one who feels her heart break, but lets that heartbeat lead her back into stillness. It's the one who, instead of demanding an apology, builds a life so whole that his absence becomes irrelevant. You don't confuse him with drama. You confuse him with dignity. You don't get louder. You get still. You take back your power not by controlling his behavior, but by mastering your own inner landscape. When a man hurts you, the natural reflex is to look outward. The heart looks for a reason. The mind searches for justice. The body tightens, breath shortens, and the story begins. Why would he do this? What did I do wrong? What does this mean about me? And yet, in the quiet space beneath the surface, a deeper question whispers. One not about him, but about you. What is this pain trying to teach me? This is where the journey begins. Not in the explanation, not in the apology you may never receive, but in the understanding that pain is not your identity. It is information, a signal, a messenger. And if you listen to it deeply, it will lead you home to yourself. Most people mistake their emotions for truth, but emotions are not truth. They are weather. They pass. What is true is the awareness that watches the emotion, that which notices the tightness in your chest when he withdraws, that which observes the racing thoughts when he doesn't respond, that which feels the sting when promises are broken. This awareness is not broken. It is not reactive. It is not small. It is vast, steady, and it belongs to you. You are not the storm. You are the sky in which the storm happens. And once you begin to observe rather than identify, you unlock the doorway to self-mastery. Consider the story of a woman who lived with a man for 6 years. They shared everything: dreams, meals, routines, even silences. One day he left, no explanation. A short message, a few lines, and then the void. She spiraled. Her mind constructed reasons, accusations, regrets. But after weeks of tears and desperate conversations with friends who offered more confusion than clarity, she stopped. She sat in her room and did something unfamiliar. She asked herself not, why did he leave? But, what am I feeling Yi right now? Her hands were cold. Her jaw was tight. Her breath was shallow. And she realized, for the first time, that her suffering had little to do with the event and everything to do with her interpretation of it. She began to observe. When anger surged, she noticed it without acting. When sadness came, she let it rise and fall like a wave. She wrote, she walked, she breathed, and slowly the story unraveled. The pain became less of a wall and more of a window, one that allowed her to see her unmet needs. Her overextensions, her silence in moments she should have spoken. The man's actions didn't disappear, but their power over her did. She had turned pain into presence. This is what it means to read the information of hurt, not wear it as your identity. Pain invites you into the nervous system, into your own biology. It is not something to fix. It is something to feel with intelligence. Neuroscience tells us that when we are emotionally triggered, the amygdala, the brain's alarm system, fires first. It activates the fight, flight, or freeze response. You want to run, or fight, or shut down. This is primal. But we are not only animals. We also have a prefrontal cortex, the seat of conscious choice, reflection, and executive function. The path of self-mastery begins when you pause long enough for this higher faculty to take the lead. It begins with the breath. Shallow breathing keeps you in survival mode. Deep diaphragmatic breathing sends a message of safety to the body. When you are hurt, breathe as if you are already safe, because safety cannot be outsourced. It must be generated from within. This breath is not a trick. It is not a quick fix. It is a declaration. I choose to remain with myself. Each breath, a signal to your body that no matter what someone else does, you will not abandon yourself. The one who hurt you may have walked away without remorse. He may even return with charm. But the real question is not about his remorse or his return. The real question is, have you come back to yourself? Can you sit with yourself without needing his validation to soothe the ache? This is the beginning of power, and it confuses him. Not because you intended to confuse him, but because he cannot locate the emotional script he expected. He anticipated tears, anger, explanations. He thought you would plead, over-explain, prove your value. Instead, you observe, you breathe, you rise slowly with steadiness. This is a different language, one he does not speak fluently. The silence becomes his mirror, and that mirror shows him something he did not expect to see: a woman who does not need to be understood to know her worth. And so you continue, not toward escape, but toward center. Most people withdraw from pain in order to run, but there is another kind of withdrawal, one that is sacred, one that is not notational, one that is not escape, but a return. Return to the present moment, return to the body, return to the self that was neglected in the pursuit of emotional rescue. This kind of withdrawal is not passive, it is a disciplined practice. It looks like stepping back from the need to explain yourself to someone committed to misunderstanding you. It looks like sitting alone, not as punishment, but as sanctuary. It looks like pulling your energy back from the scattered places it has been poured into and letting it collect like morning dew on the leaves of your soul. When you do this, you interrupt the cycle of emotional entanglement. You shift the dynamic. He expected you to lose yourself, to react, to try harder, to prove your value in the face of neglect. But you do the opposite. You return to your breath. You close your eyes. You allow the space between you to widen, not out of resentment, but out of reverence for your own peace. In this space, clarity is born. You begin to see that you were never supposed to convince someone to care. You were supposed to care for yourself so fully that another's inconsistency became irrelevant. And in that space, your nervous system begins to recalibrate. You are no longer addicted to the drama, the chase, the roller coaster. You step off the ride. You sit on solid ground. And from that place, you look not outward, but inward. One woman shared her story after years of being in an emotionally distant relationship. Her partner would disappear emotionally for days. No texts, no words, no warmth. And then reappear expecting intimacy, closeness, conversation. Each time she tried to bridge the gap, she overcompensated, sent long messages, cooked favorite meals, asked questions. But she noticed something each time. She felt smaller, more invisible. So she tried something different. She didn't react. She didn't beg. She simply withdrew, not to punish him, but to find her own ground. She walked by the lake. She wrote poems to herself. She listened to music and moved her body freely. When he returned, expecting the usual effort, he found something different. Her absence of reaction disrupted the emotional loop. He was confused, not by silence, but by sovereignty. This confusion is not manipulation. It is the natural byproduct of a woman choosing her center over his chaos. When you stop playing the role he's used to, when you don't cry on cue or spiral into self-blame, he is left with only one thing: himself. And often, that's the most uncomfortable confrontation of all. Withdrawal to center also teaches you to listen to the subtle language of your own body. The body always speaks first. Before the mind creates the story, the body offers signals. Tightness in the chest, a clenched jaw, a flutter in the stomach. These are messages. When he hurts you, your body knows before your mind understands. Learn to listen. Instead of running from those sensations, sit with them. Ask, what are you telling me? Let your body become your teacher, not your battleground. There is a phrase in Eastern tradition, return is the movement of the Tao. It means all things must return to their source. The river returns to the ocean. The breath returns to the stillness, and the self, when wounded, must return to its own presence. This is not detachment, it is refinement. You are refining your attention. You are choosing what receives your energy. And you are remembering that the most powerful response is often not a reaction, but a return. He may notice, he may not. That is not the point. This journey is not about awakening his conscience. It is about awakening your own. And when you walk this path, you begin to see that you are not just healing from him. You are healing from years of believing that your worth had to be earned through pain. You are healing from the ancestral story of the woman who must give more, tolerate more, explain more. That story ends with you. You do not confuse him with anger. You confuse him with stillness. You confuse him by not needing to be chosen, because you have already chosen yourself. You confuse him by not showing up in the predictable emotional costume he expects, because you have dropped the performance and returned to the source of your power, your awareness. And so you continue to withdraw, not as retreat, but as return. You walk slowly, you breathe fully, you let your heart ache without rushing it away. You observe without labeling. And in that sacred space, the truth begins to rise. It does not shout, it does not demand, it simply arises, clear, steady, unshakable. You realize then that the most powerful women are not those who have never been hurt. They are the ones who have been hurt deeply and still chose presence over performance, stillness over struggle, and awareness over reaction. They are the women who can sit in silence and not be swallowed by it, because they have made peace their home. And they no longer chase clarity from others. They embody it. He expects your pain to scream. That's the emotional pattern he knows. In fact, many people grow used to relationships where love is expressed through volume, arguments, pleading, dramatic exits, and emotional storms. These become rituals, predictable responses to emotional injury. He does something hurtful. You respond. You send the long message. You raise your voice. You cry. He knows this language. It's comfortable in its discomfort. It creates a rhythm where chaos becomes connection, even if it is destructive. But when that rhythm is broken, not with a louder voice, but with quiet clarity, it changes everything. He doesn't know what to do with the silence that holds its own power. To master sacred non-reaction is not to suppress what you feel. It is to elevate how you respond. It is to recognize that just because someone invites you into chaos doesn't mean you have to accept the invitation. You can remain still, not out of fear, but out of inner stability. This stillness is not cold or passive. It is intelligent. It speaks louder than argument ever could. When someone tries to provoke you, and you do not react, they are left facing their own behavior without your emotional energy cushioning it. That space becomes their mirror. Think of a time when you raised your voice to someone and they did not match your energy. Instead, they listened, or perhaps they said nothing, or they quietly left the room. In that moment, you likely became more aware of your own volume, without a reaction to absorb your anger or justify your emotion. The intensity collapses in on itself. This is the power of sacred non-reaction. It holds up a mirror that forces others to see themselves clearly, not because you told them to, but because you didn't play along. There's a woman who shared her story after a difficult breakup. Her partner would often provoke her with subtle insults. He'd question her intelligence, make jokes at her expense in public, and then act surprised when she reacted. He loved the game of turning her pain into performance. She'd raise her voice. She'd send long texts late at night trying to explain how it hurt. He'd respond with silence, or worse, mockery. This continued for years, until one day, after another cruel comment at a dinner party, she looked at him, smiled gently, and didn't say a word. She didn't react. She didn't flinch. She simply turned to the friend beside her and started a new conversation. That moment changed something. Not just for him, but for her. She realized her value was not tied to her ability to correct him or teach him or plead for kindness. Her value was intrinsic, and her silence made that truth ring louder than any protest ever could. Psychologists talk about mirror neurons, specialized cells in the brain that respond not just to what we do, but to what we observe in others. These neurons are what allow us to empathize, imitate, and learn social behaviors. But they also create predictable patterns. When someone shouts, we instinctively raise our voice. When someone criticizes us, we defend. This is why arguments escalate. But when you break the mirror, when you respond with calm presence rather than reactive emotion, you short-circuit the expected behavior. His neurons fire, but they find no match. He is forced to adjust, and that adjustment can become the catalyst for change, or the space in which you realize you no longer need to be part of the dynamic at all. Non-reaction is not the same as disconnection. It is actually a deeper connection to yourself. It means you are so grounded in your inner world that the chaos of another doesn't sway you. You no longer need to prove your pain for it to be valid. You don't need to educate someone on why you deserve respect. You embody that respect through how you hold yourself, how you speak or don't, and where you place your energy. And this placement of energy leads naturally into the next insight: setting boundaries without explanation. For most of us, boundary setting is tangled with guilt. Especially in romantic relationships, we think we owe people access to our time, our emotions, our softness. Especially if we love them. Especially if we once made ourselves available. So when we finally decide to pull back, to protect our peace, we feel the need to explain, to soften the edge, to make sure they don't misunderstand. But here's the truth: real boundaries don't require permission or performance. They are rooted in energy, not explanation. You do not need to explain why you no longer respond instantly to messages that drain you. You do not need to justify why you left the phone unanswered when you needed space. You do not need to defend your need for emotional safety. These are not selfish acts, they are sacred ones. There was a woman whose partner would always contact her when it was convenient for him. Late at night, after days of silence, when he needed validation or connection, she'd answer every time, even when she was tired, even when she was hurt, even when she knew he wouldn't commit to anything consistent. She did it because she loved him. But slowly, she realized that love is not meant to be a sacrifice of dignity. She began to pause. She let messages wait. She turned off her notifications before sleep. And the more she honored her own rhythm, the more his pattern was disrupted. At first, he was confused. Then, he became reactive. But she stayed still. She was not punishing him. She was returning to herself. Energy speaks more clearly than words. When you stop being emotionally available to someone who only shows up to take, the message is clear. Your silence becomes the boundary. Your absence becomes the answer. You do not need to argue for your worth. Your energy teaches what your words never could. Energetic boundaries are like invisible fences. They're not made of steel, but of self-respect. You know where you end and where another begins. And you no longer allow others to cross that line just because they're used to you being open. You become more selective with your attention, your time, your presence, not from bitterness, but from wisdom. You understand that just because someone wants you doesn't mean they deserve you. Just because someone reaches out doesn't mean you must respond. And this confuses him because he was used to access. He was used to availability. He knew he could hurt you and still reach you. But now there's space, there's stillness. There's a woman who no longer plays the emotional game. And that change in energy speaks volumes. It reflects a shift he did not expect, a shift from needing to be chosen to choosing yourself. This is the beauty of non-explanation. It forces clarity. When you explain less, people must observe more. They must pay attention to your actions, your absence, your changed rhythm. And that's when the truth becomes visible. Either they rise to meet you, or they reveal that they were never willing to walk beside you in truth. Energy is currency. Emotional attention is fuel. Every time you send a message, every time you pour into someone who drains you, you spend that energy. The question is, what are you buying? Are you buying clarity, growth, reciprocity? Or are you buying more of the same confusion, more of the same cycle? When you set energetic boundaries, you become aware of the cost. You begin to ask, is this conversation expanding me or exhausting me? Is this interaction building trust or borrowing against my peace? And when the answer becomes clear, your response becomes effortless. You don't react. You don't defend. You simply shift your energy. You redirect it. And that redirection becomes the most powerful form of communication. There's a quote that says, "No response is a response." And it's a powerful one. Silence doesn't mean absence. It means precision. You are no longer throwing your energy into the void, hoping it will be returned. You are investing it inward, into your routines, into your practices, into your peace. One woman chose to take a week off her phone after a particularly painful exchange with her partner. She didn't announce it. She didn't ask permission. She simply chose silence. During that time, she journaled. She cooked meals with care. She walked barefoot on the earth. She met with a friend and didn't talk about the relationship at all. When she returned, she found dozens of messages from him. Some apologetic, some confused, some angry, but none of them mattered anymore because she had remembered what it felt like to be whole. And that feeling became her new boundary. You confuse him not by playing games, but by refusing to play the old ones. You don't set boundaries to punish. You set them to protect the space in which your healing unfolds. You stop explaining because your energy already tells the story. And in that quiet, something powerful begins to happen. You feel yourself return, bit by bit, breath by breath. You are no longer orbiting someone else's inconsistency. You are standing in your own light. And in that light, you no longer chase clarity. You become it. There is a quiet moment after the storm has passed, when the shouting stops and the silence arrives. It is in that moment, between the ache in your chest and the breath you finally take, that a choice presents itself. You have been hurt. You have been ignored, betrayed, misunderstood, or left behind. The pain is not imagined. It is real. You feel it in the body like a heaviness that doesn't have a name. But what happens next will not be determined by what he did. It will be shaped by what you choose to do with the pain. Whether it buries you in bitterness or initiates you into deeper awareness is no longer in his hands. It's in yours. This is where transformation begins. Not by denying the hurt, but by alchemizing it. To alchemize pain is not to pretend it didn't happen. It is to hold it in your hands, look it in the eye, and ask it what it has come to teach you. Emotional wounds are not evidence of weakness. They are messengers of misalignment. When someone hurts you, especially someone you trusted or loved, it exposes not just the pain of their action, but the gap between your inner truth and outer reality. That gap is the ground where transformation is possible, but only if you are willing to stay there, to breathe there, to listen. In ancient traditions, alchemy was the mystical science of turning base metals into gold, but the deeper teaching was never about physical transformation. It was about internal evolution, taking something dense, heavy, seemingly worthless, like betrayal, disappointment, abandonment, and refining it through presence, patience, and self-awareness until it reveals something luminous and strong. When a man hurts you, and you do not rush to retaliate or numb the pain, but instead enter into your own body with compassion and stillness, you are engaging in this sacred process. You are not just reacting, you are refining. Pain is a portal, and yet most people run from it. The mind rushes to distraction. The heart wants revenge or validation, but the body, if listened to, invites you to sit, to feel, to let the ache speak. Because in that speaking, something is trying to be released, something long suppressed, perhaps even before this man ever entered your life. Hurt doesn't always begin with the person who triggered it. Often, it echoes older patterns: a father who didn't show up, a mother who never said, "I see you," a lifetime of being told you were too much, too needy, too emotional. So, when he ignores your message, or chooses another, or dismisses your truth, it hurts more than it should. Not because you are broken, but because this is a wound being touched that never fully healed. And that is why this moment is sacred. You are not just healing from him, you are healing from everything he reawakened in you. And healing does not mean erasing. It means integrating. It means letting yourself fully feel the sorrow, the grief, the disillusionment, not to drown in them, but to understand what they have come to teach you. A woman once described the aftermath of betrayal like walking barefoot on glass. Every step felt like pain. She could barely function. Every part of her wanted to call him, to scream, to beg for answers. But instead, she made a different choice. Each morning, she woke up and wrote down one sensation in her body. Not thoughts, just sensations. Throat tight, chest heavy, legs numb. She didn't try to interpret or fix it. She just observed. Slowly, a pattern emerged. She realized her body had been holding tension long before the betrayal. She had been ignoring herself for years. Pleasing, performing, prioritizing his moods over her own intuition. The betrayal hurt, but it also revealed. It showed her how far she had drifted from herself. So she began the return, not with grand gestures, but with rituals. A slow morning, a gentle walk, a breath before replying to messages. She started singing again, something she hadn't done in years. She didn't do these things to be productive or to prove her healing. She did them because they made her feel alive. And that aliveness, that returning to herself, became the alchemy. The pain had not disappeared, but it had changed shape. It was no longer a chain. It was a compass. There is a teaching in Eastern philosophy that says, the obstacle is the path. Meaning, what you resist most is often the very thing that will lead you to freedom, if you move through it with presence. Pain is the doorway, but only if you stop trying to escape it. Only if you listen to its wisdom. The mind will try to tell stories. You weren't enough. He never loved you. This always happens to you. These are not truths. They are echoes of past conditioning. You do not have to believe every thought your mind produces, especially not when it is flooded with hurt. Instead, return to the body, to the breath, to the present. Ask, what is happening? No, not what he said, not what you fear, but what is real in this moment. Perhaps a pulse in your temple, perhaps a tear on your cheek. These are the truths that matter. From the perspective of neuroscience, We know that emotional pain activates the same regions in the brain as physical pain. The brain doesn't distinguish between a broken bone and a broken heart. But here's the key: the brain also has neuroplasticity, the ability to change, to rewire. And one of the most effective ways to begin that rewiring is through deliberate, repeated practice of self-awareness. Not to bypass the pain, but to reframe it. Every time you sit with your sadness, instead of texting him for closure, you strengthen the circuits of emotional regulation. Every time you name your feeling instead of numbing it, you build resilience. You are not waiting for him to come back. You are teaching your own nervous system how to stand alone with strength. There is a kind of emotional discipline that is not cold or harsh, but deeply loving. It says, I will not abandon myself just because someone else did. This is the highest form of self-respect. It does not require perfection. It simply asks for consistency. Small acts repeated over time that restore your connection to yourself. Drinking water with care, turning off your phone at night, saying no when something feels off. These are not trivial. They are sacred. They are the scaffolding of self-worth. In time, this inner work begins to radiate outward. People notice, not because you tell them what you've been through, but because your energy speaks louder than your words. You no longer seek love from desperation. You no longer give your softness to those who haven't earned it. You walk differently. You speak differently. Not because you're guarded, but because you are grounded. One of the most powerful things you can do after being hurt is to turn that hurt into practice. Not performative practice, but embodied, private, meaningful rituals that deepen your connection to life. Read poetry. Dance in your living room. Learn to cook a meal you love. Go for a walk without your phone. Sit in silence. Let your pain become the reason you return to yourself. Not to punish him, but to honor the parts of you that were lost while loving someone who did not see your full light. And perhaps, in the quiet of that return, you'll hear a different kind of voice. Not the voice of fear or judgment, but a voice that says, welcome back. I missed you. That voice has always been there, beneath the noise, beneath the ache, waiting patiently for your return. You may begin to see that you are not defined by who left. You are defined by how you stayed with yourself. And from that place, future love looks different. You no longer seek someone to complete you. You seek someone to meet you. And you will only allow them in if they arrive with the same level of presence you have cultivated within. The pain taught you that. It taught you how to sit in your own fire without burning, how to rise without noise, how to carry your softness without apology. This is the gold that emerges when the rawness of heartbreak is turned into ritual. It's not quick, it's not easy, but it is real, and it is yours. The path is not to be untouched by pain, but to be transformed by it. And transformation happens in the most ordinary places. In how you brush your hair, in how you speak to yourself in the mirror, in the pause before you reply to a message, in the way you say no without guilt. These moments are not small, they are the practice. And over time, they become the embodiment of someone who turned pain into power. Not by force, but by presence. Not by pretending, but by becoming. Absence is often misunderstood. People confuse it with silence, with loss, with endings. But absence, when chosen with awareness, is one of the most profound teachers. In relationships, especially those where pain and disappointment have taken root, presence can become diluted, habitual, taken for granted. Words lose their meaning. Gestures are no longer felt. The more you try to explain, the less you are understood. The more you stay, the more invisible you feel. This is the moment where something deeper begins to emerge. Not the impulse to retaliate, not the need to prove a point, but a subtle calling within. An invitation to pull back, not in fear, but in clarity. You begin to sense that your presence, once freely given, must now be withdrawn, not as punishment, but as a mirror. A lesson that only space can teach. When a man hurts you and continues as if nothing happened, it isn't always because he doesn't care. Sometimes it is because he knows your presence will remain regardless. The routine of forgiveness, the predictability of your attention, the reliability of your response, all become emotional guarantees. And in that guarantee, awareness is lost. You become familiar background noise, always there, always giving. And in that familiarity, something dangerous happens. He stops seeing you, not because you are unworthy of being seen, but because his lens has become clouded with entitlement. Absence clears that lens. It sharpens perception. It invites reflection. When you stop showing up in the same way, when your energy is no longer available on demand, he is left with the silence of his own choices. And in that silence, the noise of your past efforts suddenly becomes visible. The texts you sent, the calls you made, the times you stayed when you were hurting. All of these come rushing into awareness because they are no longer happening. That's the strange power of presence. It is most visible when it is no longer there. There was a woman who had spent years in an emotionally draining relationship. Her partner was charming but inconsistent. He'd disappear for days and return with excuses. She stayed through cycles of hope and disappointment, clinging to the moments of affection as proof that he cared. Each time he pulled away, she reached further. Until one day, without anger or theatrics, she stopped. She didn't send a final message. She didn't announce her exit. She simply withdrew her energy. She unfollowed, stopped responding, and most importantly, stopped hoping. In the silence that followed, something remarkable happened, not from him, but within her. She began to see the extent of her own loyalty, how much love she had given, how much effort she had poured into a container that was full of holes. Her absence from him became a presence to herself. This is what most people don't understand. Absence is not about cutting someone off to make them suffer. It is about stepping back so that the truth has room to emerge. Because sometimes your consistent presence keeps the lie alive. It props up the illusion that things are fine, that your needs are small, that your love has no boundaries. When you remove that presence, reality enters. He has to feel the echo of your absence to understand the weight of your presence. And often, this is where confusion arises. He doesn't know how to interpret it. He may wonder if you're angry, if you're trying to manipulate, if you've moved on. But it's none of those. It's something far more powerful. It's self-respect. It's the quiet revolution of a woman who has decided that begging for attention is beneath her, that explaining her pain to someone who refuses to listen is over, that trying to convince someone of her value is a battle she no longer chooses to fight. This decision doesn't always come with confidence. Sometimes it comes with trembling hands, tears, and doubt. But beneath all of that is something steadier, an inner voice saying, enough. And once that voice has been heard, once you've tasted even a moment of what it feels like to no longer betray yourself, there is no turning back. Absence becomes not just a tool, but a form of alignment. You are no longer where love is absent. You are where truth is present. Absence teaches both sides. It teaches him that access is not a right, that attention is earned, not assumed, that emotional availability is a gift, not a guarantee. But more importantly, it teaches, that you are not defined by someone's ability to see your worth, that you are not obligated to stay in places where you are only tolerated, not cherished, that leaving even silently can be an act of deep self-love. From the perspective of behavioral psychology, there's a phenomenon known as the scarcity principle. It states that people assign more value to things when they are perceived as scarce. This doesn't mean you become unavailable to manipulate desire. It means that your consistent availability may be creating the very blindness you are suffering under. When something is always there, it fades into the background. The moment it is removed, its absence creates contrast. That contrast forces attention. And with attention comes the possibility of awareness. It is not your job to make someone realize your value, but it is your responsibility to stop enabling their blindness to it. A woman once described how she used to argue endlessly with her partner. Whenever he pulled away emotionally, she'd chase with words. Long messages, emotional outbursts, desperate attempts to be heard. But one day, during yet another argument, she simply stopped mid-sentence. Not out of defeat, but from a sudden wave of clarity. She looked at him and realized he wasn't listening. He was defending, protecting his ego, not absorbing her heart. That night, she didn't try again. She went home. She sat in silence, and she decided to speak no more. Not because she didn't care, but because she did, and because she knew that continuing to beg for empathy was eroding her spirit. In the days that followed, her silence was deafening. He reached out, apologized, asked questions, but she had already shifted. Not in anger, but in truth. She had realized that when your words fall on deaf ears long enough, the most powerful thing you can do is stop speaking. Let silence say what words cannot. Let absence carry the message that love without respect is not love at all. Absence doesn't always lead to reconciliation. Sometimes it confirms what was already true, that he was never really there to begin with. But even that realization is a gift, because clarity, even when painful, is more loving than confusion. It frees you. It lets you mourn the truth instead of clinging to the illusion. And from that mourning, you rise, not as a woman who was left, but as a woman who returned to herself. There's a quiet story told in many cultures of the woman who disappears into the mountains after heartbreak. She doesn't go to hide. She goes to remember. She builds a fire. She sings to the trees. She lets her tears fall into the soil. And with each passing day, she becomes lighter, stronger, not because the pain left her, but because she made space for it. She didn't distract. She didn't beg. She didn't chase. She allowed herself to become absent from the world that had ignored her, so she could become fully present with the one within her. When she returns, she is different, grounded, unshakable, and those who once overlooked her see her anew, not because she has changed her hair or her clothes, but because she now carries the quiet power of someone who has been to the depths and did not drown. Absence has always been part of transformation. Nature shows us this. The tree loses its leaves in winter not because it is dying, but because it is preparing for deeper growth. The caterpillar retreats into the cocoon, becoming formless before emerging anew. You too are allowed to step back, to become quiet, to stop reaching, not as an ending, but as a preparation, so that when you rise again, it is not as someone trying to be seen, but as someone who no longer needs to be. Letting someone feel your absence doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you start caring differently. You care enough to stop showing up where you are not received with reverence. You care enough to stop trying to fix what someone else keeps breaking. You care enough to protect the parts of you that love deeply, so they are not handed over to someone who uses them without care. And if he reaches out in that absence, confused, remorseful, reactive, that too is a lesson. Not in whether he comes back, but in how you respond. Do you return to old patterns? Or do you remain rooted in your new clarity? Do you mistake attention for love? Or do you discern the difference between guilt and growth? These are not questions you answer with your mind, but with your body. your nervous system knows. When it tightens, when it contracts, it is speaking. When it relaxes, when it feels spacious, it is guiding. Listen to that wisdom. Let it be your compass, especially when his words seem familiar, but your body knows better. And as you walk forward, carrying both the pain and the lessons, know this: your absence was not just a reaction. It was a declaration, a statement that says, I am no longer available for anything less than truth. You didn't leave to hurt him. You left to heal you. And that healing, in its quiet, patient unfolding, becomes the most powerful presence of all. When a man hurts you, the instinct may be to fight, to fix, to prove your worth through noise, reaction, and effort. But the deeper path, the wiser path, is not paved with argument or emotional sacrifice. It begins with stillness, with withdrawal, not to escape, but to return to yourself. It is through sacred silence, refined energy, and the courageous of choosing your own peace that you truly take back your power. You confuse him not by retaliation, but by no longer participating in a dynamic that drains your spirit. You shift not to punish, but to preserve. You stop speaking not because you have nothing to say, but because your silence finally speaks the truth he refused to hear. You walk away not because you are weak, but because you've remembered your strength. Pain is no longer your prison. It becomes your portal. Your clarity is no longer conditional. It is your compass. And love is no longer something you chase. It is something you embody. This journey isn't about him. It never was. It's about how deeply you are willing to return to the one person who can never leave you yourself.